Welcome back, everybody. Did everybody get the memo about bringing a hand towel?
Yes.
Did anybody not bring anything? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there are a few people that didn't. Okay, so I did bring a few. Let me see what I have.
What are we going to use it for, Sean? Is that a surprise?
That's a surprise.
Oh, because I have something I could use as one if it wasn't going to.
Okay, we're going to stand on it, if that helps.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see what I got. So.
I have this is not it, but I can loan it to somebody.
Okay. Yeah, well, I thought we were going to do the blindfold, but that was what oh, don't stand on your blindfold. That was the exercise we were going to do if we had enough space, but I'm feeling like there wasn't quite enough space. So, Tom, you need something?
Yeah, I'll share mine. We'll go. I'll share mine. You do
Yeah,
it.
we can throw on the floor. Who else didn't have something? Oh.
So, we're not going to talk about this, huh?
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Back?
No. Can you need it? Use it.
I grabbed it.
Yeah.
I go out in the car and find some clothes.
No, I didn't bring a hand towel. I didn't read the rules.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. I'll take all the stuff.
That was the first rule.
Does everybody have something now? Okay. Great.
Throw that.
I'm. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Okay.
Sign her up.
I'm going to follow
Yeah.
a few guidelines here. Okay, so... So let's bring ourselves all back to center now, okay? So we've had a little opportunity. See what has changed about your center. Since we had a break, some of us got up and moved out of the room. Some of us were just talking. Notice where your center is now. Has it changed at all from front to back? From side to side? From top to bottom? Just notice. Bring it back into center. And now, I'm going to take you through a really quick guided journey. So as you find your center, and you're in that center, knowing exactly what center feels like, what if that center were like a communication channel to the greater part of yourself? Remember, we're not our thoughts, and we're not our feelings, we're not our memories, because those have already happened, and we're not in the future, although we think about it a lot. When we're not those things, what are we? And that part of ourselves has a greater part in which it is connected. Imagine that you are like a reservoir, open to the rain. And there is information coming from the infinite part of yourself, the part of you that transcends time and space. And that information that is coming to you is like rain. Just be open and receptive to it. Open and receptive to the infinite part of yourself, which has guided you through many lifetimes, has provided you with wisdom on how to conduct yourself in this lifetime what nourishes you, what motivates you, what reminds you, what clarifies you. And ask this part of yourself, this greater part of yourself, this infinite part of yourself, to make itself present within you. And as you open up, as you become receptive to this connection, notice where it establishes itself in you. Is it in the belly? Is it in the heart? Is it in the head? Is it in your hands? Is it in your feet? Is it in your hips? Is it in your shoulders? Where do you notice your attention going? Where do you notice that energetic center making itself known? How do you notice its presence? And when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to take your cloth and hold it in both of your hands. And imbue, send that energy into the cloth. So that the cloth becomes a representation of the infinite spirit that you are, infused with all of the goodness, all of the love, the joy, the high vibrational emotional state. You may see color. You may hear sound. You may feel a quality that also makes itself present in you, that you may want to imbue this cloth with. When you're ready, I'm going to invite you to set that cloth on the ground in front of you. Now we're going to play again. Come back to center. Bring that blue orb from above you down through the body, completely clearing out everything we just did. Completely clearing it out. Just come back into neutral center. Now you may have a little bit of a feeling of the residual effects of connecting with the infinite part of yourself. But just if you can, just come back to your center place. And then what I'm going to invite you to do is to stand up and step onto your cloth and notice what differences might exist between the you that's sitting in this chair in a neutral state and what is happening in this cloth that you've just given this state of infinite part of yourself to, with all of those higher vibrational states, all those emotions, whatever qualities you've imbued into that cloth. So when you found your neutral space, I invite you to stand up and stand in the center of that cloth. And then I invite you to notice. What do you notice about standing in that cloth?
I kind of feel like I'm in a little bit different place.
Mm-hmm. Quirky surfing.
Makes me dizzy.
Makes you dizzy. Uh-huh. You're floating. Uh-huh.
I feel like I'm home.
You're home. Mm-hmm. Nice.
I feel more grounded.
We're more grounded. Mm-hmm. And this is what I would call sacred space. We all talk about creating sacred space, but what does sacred space actually mean? All we've done is created a cloth on the floor that we're standing on. But notice how much power that has. Notice how much quality that has. What if every space that you were in, you created as sacred space? What does it mean to own your space, to be in your space, to identify with your space, to claim your space, to announce yourself to a space? That's how we started tonight, just by announcing ourselves to be present in this space. And now we've actually moved the infinite part of ourselves into a space that we can stand within. Now I'm going to invite you to do something really crazy. I'm going to ask you to share your space with somebody else. So, take your cloth and pass it to the person to your right.
Put it back on the ground.
And then put it back on the ground and step in it.
To my right. Anybody? Is this your? Is this couple?
Oh, that's mine. Oh, yeah. So you guys are probably just gonna switch.
That was mine. Go ahead.
I did that.
Yeah, so that goes to you.
Thank you.
You
Are
got,
we supposed to stand on it again?
Yes.
The
you
other
got
person?
Mel's,
Uh-huh.
We're
just so you
supposed to
know.
stand on their sacred space?
Yes.
Should've made it.
Oh, dear.
And don't tell them what.
Everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is your sacred space. Whoa.
Yeah, that just seems weird to me. Too.
Yeah, it does.
Wait till
Uh-huh.
Titan.
Well, hers is more calm than mine was.
What do you notice? What do you notice about somebody else's space?
It's
We're all
palpable.
laughing.
Doesn't feel as
It feels different.
We burn so calm, clear it.
Mm-mm. I'm done.
You should have free your space.
Is there any
You're afraid of
message
this
for you from the
physically feel
space.
something in my stomach.
Mhm.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Messages get off, right?
I feel very comfortable.
I sink into her sacred space.
Uh-huh.
Does that make it mine?
Well, remember, in the right hemisphere of the brain, there's no separation. We're all one. Hold on to that for a moment. Breathe into the right hemisphere of the brain. Just imagine that you're breathing right into the right side of the head. Does that change your experience? We're all interconnected. Separation of self is an illusion. When you're on the right hemisphere of the brain. When you're in the left hemisphere of the brain, we're all separate. So both are equally true. How can that be? What does that do to rules? The kids outside playing with the trash can. We're interconnected. If we choose to be. Okay, now we're going to play again. So, we're going to play a little bit with messages. Send a message into this sacred space. Some message.
Into the sacred space we're standing in.
Uh-huh. And then when you're ready, we're going to give the sacred space back to its owner. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Is this yours? No.
Ah,
Hey, there we go.
I was wondering who that belonged to.
Oh, sorry.
When you're ready, go ahead and lay the sacred space back down on the floor.
That must be,
And stand in that sacred
You had a
space.
physical message in your thing?
Message
You are special.
That's too easy.
Well, I'm gonna get your
It said,
message
help,
because
I'm
he
trapped
thought
on
it
an
was yours.
island.
You get my message.
Okay. And now, see if the reservoir that you have within yourself that receives messages, that is in tune and open to the infinite part of yourself, see if it can detect what that message is that was placed into your sacred space.
It's a lot softer than it was when I was stepping on it before.
Well, Jeanette had your sacred space, so.
But now it's talking about connection, and before it was talking about is.
Mm.
So whatever she put into it is connecting.
Mm-hmm. Yes, proceed.
You're all going to
Yeah,
have, you're going to have an
yeah,
opportunity to
okay,
share what
sure.
your message is, but just for now, just absorb, just be in it. Allow yourself to be receptive. And you may get it as words, you may get it as colors, you may get it as symbols, you may get it as a sound. It may come in different ways. We all receive and send information in different ways. Just notice, be curious. Did anybody notice anything in particular that they wanted to share? Any differences, any qualities that have arisen?
And mine felt softer,
Uh-huh.
more receptive.
Uh-huh. And now I'm going to give you all a moment just to talk to each other, to see what was it that was in that message, just to see, like, aren't you all curious if what you were feeling or sensing is in alignment with,
Was meant for Mike.
huh?
My message was meant for Mike because he thought it was Mike's job.
Oh.
Wait till we keep talking.
That's right, my message, I kept getting two
Uh-huh.
messages. I
Love
love you, and I do back and forth. Wait,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
sorry, I had one message.
Yeah, I put a
But,
message.
oh no, you put a message, that's right, you put a message.
I put a message.
So you should talk to her about your feeling. It was peaceful.
I thought I did. I was speaking to you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You know?
So I said what message did you?
Well, you know, when I first got on it the first time, I was kind of wobbly. I felt more grounded the second time, and I was ready to just kind of be still. So I didn't feel any still anymore like mine.
Here we are. I just said the basics.
I kind of said that. It was I first was kind of wobbly.
Oh, it was just softer and more. Yeah, soft. It just that it was nice. It was not as edgy as what I put it in. You're nicer than I am.
Just love, because that's the message I got was peace.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I love you and I bless you.
I can use all the blessings I can get. Thank you.
Okay,
I love you.
so-
Bless you.
Yeah,
I want to open up the room so that people can give some comments. There was a comment in the back.
Okay, it was like, when I first got on it, was also feeling, well, mine was, felt light and strength
come from a
to
big
go through what
family.
I'm going through, and that was the challenge, is I think I was with Achilles at Troy, and then going earlier, following, the question is, where did the Turks come from in Central Asia? And I know I had Mongol karma, and I was tuning into that and working through it, and feeling like going past the Titans, because in our Western, both theology and science, we stop with the Greeks about 800 BCE. And we go back a couple thousand years, what was happening then, when I think they were more attuned to the ancient world. And I feel that gap, I'm kind of breaking up in me going farther back. Like what Casey talks about, the sons of Belial and the sons of one, going back to that realm. And that was feeling the strength and then all the love of all the people here. Felt a lot of love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did too.
So
Yeah.
I did send him strength,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting you talked about the Mongols because Tom and I watched Netflix 20 episodes of Marco Polo in the last
No
week
kidding.
or so, and so we're kind of into
No kidding.
Mongol.
String.
You didn't see me there?
I'll review it again.
Now you know what to look for.
And we know what to look for. That's right.
Uh-huh. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to say? Mary?
Well, Tom had mine, so I thought, well, what would, and I said, no, just see what you get. And what I got was, dun 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 dun, this guy's in love with you.
Well, I felt the love in mine from the two of them, too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got that too.
I bet. A lot of love in the back row.
Hard not to.
Anyone else?
It's funny that you're doing that.
Yeah, mine felt much softer and much kinder than when I originally sat on it.
Uh-huh.
And she said that she'd put love and
I love you and I bless you.
I love you and I bless you. And And I can feel it.
Uh-huh.
My feet feel so much better now.
But I just looked over at her and I saw her dancing, and that's exactly what I felt in this towel. I felt her dancing, and joy, joy, joy was what I felt. Thank you, and just joy. And she said, she put, I love you, I love you.
Yeah, I said, you are loved,
You are loved, you are loved.
Oh.
But it's funny that you were just wiggling just what I saw in the towel without me telling you that.
We're partners.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, right?
We're wiggle partners.
Yeah, that's what I felt in that towel.
That's what they're calling it now.
I was telling Lori, I got a connection from when I sat here, and I was thinking about what's going on and all sorts of things. And from her, I got people standing in a circle singing, which doesn't mean anything to her, but for me, to stand in a circle and sing out loud, I'm tone deaf. And so I just burst into laughter while I was standing here. I thought, that is really something. So she somehow was sending connection.
Anyone else notice anything? Tronica?
So the word that came to me really pretty clearly and immediately was faith. And while what was sent to me was love and peace, for the things that I've gone through recently, to get to a peaceful state, faith is one of the things that has helped me to get there. So it all kind of made sense.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sean, did you do it?
No.
Oh, we could all put our towels down. You could step on all.
Actually, you're in my space. So, I want you to notice something that's very interesting. Look what you did with a cloth. What if you did that with your shoes? What if you did that with your clothes? What would it be like to imbue the things that you spend the most time with? Now, this energy doesn't get retained for a very long period of time, right? These are inanimate objects. However, there are objects that do hold memory for a long period of time. That's why people are in psychometry are able to feel a ring or a wallet or something and get an impression from it. So what would it be like to take some of the things that you take for granted and actually imbue them with the infinite spirit that is available to you all the time? What would you do with your car? And you have your hands on the steering wheel all the time, and it's usually receiving whatever is going on in you when you're in traffic or when you're driving. And then you get back in that car, and it's held on to that energy. So what would it be like if you intentionally brought that infinite part of yourself into something like your steering wheel, or your gear shift, or the seat that you're sitting in? How might that affect when you are in traffic and frustrated? Would you be as frustrated? Would you be reminded that the infinite part of yourself is actually connected to you all the time? And sometimes we just tend to forget when we get into the subjective self. So it's just something to think about as homework. Like, what would I do with this energy? How could I change my life with the objects around me when I actually can embody my centeredness, when I can open my reservoir to spirit? So, something to think about. I want to do another fun little exercise. I want everybody to come into center, and I would like one person to send their infinite self out into this space, to occupy this space. Do I have a volunteer who would be willing to do that while everybody else is neutral? Jeanette. Okay, great, fantastic. Okay, so all you have to do is sit there. Okay, I'd like everybody to come into center, use your blue globe, move it down through the body, cleaning out any residual energy that you've been connected to, coming back into center, into neutrality. And I'm going to contract my connection to this space. And now I'm going to invite Jeanette to open up the infinite part of herself, her reservoir. And
It has a sound.
I know. I didn't even
I'm
know
very
I sounded.
impressed,
And
Jeanette.
Jeanette, you are fantastic.
So far, the best.
Thought I turned it off.
Start that workshop.
Okay.
Nothing like timing.
Timing is everything. So it makes my joke so funny.
Nothing's an accident.
All right. So again, come into that neutral space. And when you're in that neutral space, allow yourself to just be open to feeling, to experiencing Jeanette as she fills this space with the infinite part of herself, imbuing this space.
Should be plugged in. Should be plugged in. Why don't you just turn it off and turn it back on again? No, yeah, forget about that. That's just some crickets.
As Jeanette has taken space and filled it with the infinite part of herself, what do you notice? Does anybody notice anything in particular they want to share? Mm-hmm.
And I got light radiating from her in all directions, like the sun, and I got, it's all the same, from the point of being, from an atom, from the cell, from the sun, it's all the same levels radiating out, and the love was just, the Atman there was just radiating out.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt one with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just got one word, and it was called forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Uh-huh.
Feel lighter.
You feel
I
lighter.
feel so calm.
Uh-huh. You feel calm. Mm-hmm.
Warmth.
Warmth. Uh-huh.
Beauty.
Beauty.
Connected.
Connected. And so Jeanette, I'm just curious, was there a particular quality that you felt you were sending out in particular that was one that rose above all the others, or were you just sending out yourself?
Two things.
Two things.
One thing, when we did the 4 directions that you did with the drum, I asked for a message,
Mm-hmm.
and the message that came through was forgiveness. Or one more
What was
thing.
it? Oneness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you were sending it out again, which is
I
is a true healer. Is when you receive and then you give out. That's a true healing.
Well, we're all just mirrors, so you know. Right. So, so what I did send out was blue crystalline liquid light that I sent it out, so so you could all feel like the sort of lullaby of that. And then I lit up my spine with solar lights. So lots of sunlight.
Thank you.
What I experienced was a vibration. I'm very attuned to sound, so my body feels, and what I felt was about like, kind of like, and I could feel it radiating all throughout my chest, and my shoulders. That's how I experienced it.
Overall sound. So that's my sound. That's wonderful. I've never heard it reflected back to me like that.
Awesome, thank you. Would anybody else like, and I invite you to contract yourself back to how it feels.
All the water back in.
within
Put some
yourself,
water back in.
what feels normal for you.
Sunlight
Perfect.
down.
And would somebody else like to volunteer? Mary?
You want me to?
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so everybody, bring yourself into neutrality, center yourself. And be receptive to Mary's presence as she fills this space. What do people notice?
Yeah.
Anybody have any observations?
It's a really comforting mother-like love.
Mm-hmm.
Safe, happy.
Yeah, I felt like red and warmth and moved through my body and into my hands.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I felt joy, and then I was hearing this land is your land, this land is my land.
That's that Marco Polo again? I think that was his favorite song.
Oh, yeah. But you got to read it too.
They were connected.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Warmth.
Warmth.
Strength.
Strength.
Happiness.
Happiness. I sensed there was a feeling from here up, and it was it felt like the only way I can describe this is it felt like what it's like to turn the light on in a white room. So maybe illumination, clarity, something like that. So Mary, what was your sense of what you were radiating, sending out, filling the space with?
I asked to the field, and then I asked to radiate out what I call power love, healing love,
Uh-huh.
and I tried to send it to each person. You know, I asked the divine to send it to each person in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my hands were hot. I guess
Oh.
that means something.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Tronica felt that.
She felt it in her hands.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, I'm going to invite you, Mary, to pull your energy into wherever it feels comfortable, so that we're all sitting within our space now. And note that whenever you come into a space, whenever you want to create a container for something, this is the essence that you're creating that container with. This is what you're filling that space with. And a container can be anything. It can be something that you want to give to somebody as a present. It could be how you are moving through an environment that feels uncomfortable. You become the container for the energy that you want to not only give off, but choose how you want to receive. So this is the intention that we move into the world with. being aware of how we occupy space, what we do with space. Do we need to create containers for ourselves? Are there things that we want to imbue with that energy? Because it's available to us, and oftentimes we, in the subjective experience of moving through everyday life, forget that we are connected to something greater than ourselves, and it wants to express itself through us. And so these are just ways that we can